We are well into 2025 now. A few months later, it will be hike season. You worked hard the whole year, but will you get rewarded for it? Will there be a hike in the age of artificial intelligence? And what will your increment look like? Well, if you work in India, a new report has some clues. It was prepared by consulting firm Mercer. They looked at more than 1,500 companies from India, from the tech sector, from financial services, from consumer goods, and from manufacturing. And what did they find? Overall, salary hikes are expected to be 9.4%. This is the expected average across industries. And the auto sector leads the way. Their average hike is expected to be around 10%. Manufacturing and engineering come second. If you work in these sectors, you can expect a 9.7% hike. Let's answer the obvious question here. Is this good enough? How does it compare to the rest of the world? In Southeast Asia, the hikes are expected to be much lower, between 4 and 7%. And in the US, it is expected to be around 4%. But remember, India's inflation remains a lot higher. If prices rise too much, they negate your salary hike. That's one thing to note. Secondly, what is India's trajectory? In 2023, Indian salaries were expected to grow by 9.5%. In 2024, they were expected to grow by 10%. And in 2025, the projection is 9.4%. So hikes have stagnated in recent years, which is very different from the pandemic era. In 2020, India's expected salary hike was just 8%. So on this metric, things have improved since COVID. The report also has other good news. It says 37% companies plan to increase their headcount in 2025. Basically, they will hire more people. But their type of remuneration is changing. 75% companies are now using performance-linked incentive of PLI. It is exactly what it sounds like. One portion of your compensation will be variable. It is not a fixed pay, it is variable. It will depend on your performance, sometimes your company's performance. If you do well, you get the money. If you don't, you will get only a part of it. The idea is to push employees to work harder, to give them incentive to work. Of course, this is all projection. We'll only know for sure once increment season arrives. Infosys will be among the first of the lot. Their pay hikes are expected to roll out by February. By June, the hike season should end. And there are three factors to watch out for. The first is the union budget. Reports say the government is considering an income tax cut. That won't increase your salary, but it will increase your disposable income. You'll have more money in hand, money that you can spend or save. The second factor is artificial intelligence. Around 55% Indian firms have adopted AI. So if employees do not upskill, they could lose out. Their jobs could be taken over by AI. And finally, the third factor, corporate policy. Indian companies have been making more money than ever. Their profits are at a 15-year high. But they've been reluctant to offer corresponding hikes to employees. Will they change that this year? The forecast is not too good. Corporate earnings are expected to be muted in the first few months, so a bumper hike looks unlikely. A lot will also depend on the overall sentiment. India's GDP rebounded quickly after the pandemic, but now there are signs of a slowdown. GDP growth was 8.2% in the last financial year. This time, it is expected to be 6.4%. which would be the lowest in 4 years. All these variables could end up deciding your hike this year. The only way to know for sure is to wait.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.